Today I'm going to show you what is a birth chart and how to read a birth chart. Well, first of all, what is a birth chart? Birth chart is simply a snapshot of the sky at the moment you came out of the womb. So as soon as you came out of the womb, at whatever particular time it was, there's this snapshot of the sky showing where each planet was, in which zodiac sign, and which house. And remember, in astrology, you have 12 zodiac signs and you have 12 houses. For the 12 houses, the first house is really represented by the sign of Aries. Second house is represented by Taurus. Third house represented by Gemini. Fourth house represented by Cancer. Fifth house represented by Leo, all the way to Pisces. So these are your 12 houses and 12 zodiac signs. Each sign means something and each house means something. The first house is yourself, second is your family, third is your sibling, fourth is your mother, fifth is your children, sixth is your enemies, seventh is your spouse, eighth is your in-laws, ninth is your teachers, seventh is your spouse, eighth is your in-laws, ninth is your teachers, 10th is your father, 11th is your network circle and friends, and 12th is your spiritual self, meaning that it's your soul chart related to the soul. Although these things and these houses represent a lot more, and for all those people who also follow the South Indian chart, and you guys say you're confused, this is for you as well. So you can now learn how easy the North Indian style chart is. Because remember, in South Indian chart, the reason why I could never get used to it is because the ascendant in the South Indian chart keeps changing. Sometimes it's in this box, sometimes it's in that box, sometimes in that box. The eye keeps moving. Now, if you're used to it, it looks easy, right? But once you truly understand what this North Indian style chart that I use, that once you understand how it works, you'll be like, oh my God, it is so simple. So as you see on the screen here, these little boxes and diamonds, okay, if you count them, there are 12 boxes here. It doesn't matter what, if they're shaped like a triangle or a square or diamond, they're all just simply each house, okay? Now, where I have set ascendant into the box, okay, that little right in the middle, that upper middle box that says ascendant, that is always your ascendant. That is always your rising sign. That is always your first house. It'll never change in the North Indian style chart. This is why I love North Indian style chart. Anytime you look at this box, this is your ascendant. So if you're looking at a chart from my report, all those pages, number of pages, and all these charts that you see, whether it's divisional charts or your birth chart, the ascendant of all of those charts are always this box. That's it. Simple. So if I was to ask you where's your ascendant or what sign and house is your ascendant is placed at, you will always refer to this box, whether I'm talking about your birth chart, your moon chart, your sun chart, your divisional chart, your Nemansha, Dasamsha, Trimshansha, Swasastiyamsha, Saptamsha, any chart of Vedic astrology, this is the ascendant, the main square that you saw with the ascendant written, okay? Then if you go counterclockwise from that house, meaning you go towards the left, that's your second house. So your first house is the middle house, the ascendant. The second house is right next to it. Wherever you see that two is your second house. The number 3 is the third house. All the way to 12th house, these are your houses in Vedic astrology chart, the North Indian style chart. And these houses never change, okay? So if I was to ask you where's your 7th house, you will look where that number 7 is, and that is your 7th house. That is the house of your spouse. That is the house of your partnerships, how your marriage is going to be. You will look at it from that chart. So, and it's directly opposite to the ascendant, as you might have heard of, So the first house is always that fixed sign and directly opposite to the 7th house. And the 12th house is on the right side of the ascendant because it's, the very furthest house away from the ascendant because it's 12 places away doing counterclockwise. So that is the 12th house. Okay, so never forget this number sequence that you see on this chart. These are the fixed houses. The 5th house is always where you see number 5. The 9th house is wherever you see number 9. The 10th house is wherever you see 10th house, okay? But every 2.5 hours in an astrological chart, the zodiac signs change. The houses stay fixed, like you saw the fifth house, third house, fourth house, all of these houses stay where they are. But the zodiac sign switches every 2.5 hours. And each zodiac sign is 30 degrees long. So those 30 degrees always get completed within 2.5 hours. So you could be born at 0 degree Aries, or you could be born at 30 degree Aries ascendant, or 29.8 degree Aries ascendant. But you are in that first box, that ascendant box, which is the Aries sign. But let me show you a different chart that may look confusing to you, but let me explain. Now let me show you another chart. You see this chart here, and you saw the ascendant box. You know that is always the ascendant. But now you're wondering, what is this number 5? And why it's starting from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it ends at number 4 in the 12th house. What is this? Okay. Well, these are the zodiac signs of the zodiac belt, which are changing every 2.5 hours. So the very first chart that you saw with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means two things. One, it was just to show you where the first house is, where the fifth house is, where the ninth house is, where the 12th house is, okay? However, this 1, 2, 3 chronological order can also mean that it's an Aries ascendant. Because anytime you get a chart or a report from me or anywhere else, you will see this chart with with the very first ascendant starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 12. It'll be always the numbers between 1 and 12 in the very first box of the ascendant. That's because charts, it's already assuming you know where the location of the fifth house is. But what it does show you is the zodiac sign rising in each house. So the number 5 that you see in this chart, what do you think that means? Remember my chronological order of all the zodiac sign. Aries, okay, going counterclockwise from the ascendant, the third house shows the number 7, which doesn't mean that it's the 7th house. No, it's the seventh zodiac sign of the zodiac belt, which is Libra. But Libra is rising in the 3rd house, which has to do with communication, your siblings, your skills, your talent, it's a house of media, as I'm doing my 3rd house series. So this is how you read a chart. When you get my report from the website and you're looking at your birth chart, okay, the numbers that you see on each house is not the house numbers. These are the zodiac sign numbers. So you can see number 11 in a chart at the very first box where it says ascendant. That doesn't mean that that is the 11th house in your very first house. That doesn't make sense, okay? It just shows it's the 11th sign of the zodiac, Aquarius, rising in the first house, meaning that's your rising sign. You're an Aquarius rising sign. And if you go counterclockwise, you will run into the number 12 in the 2nd house, which is Pisces. Then back to Aries, because we only have 12 signs. So it starts again in the 3rd house with Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini, then Cancer, then Leo, directly opposite to the ascendant. So this is how you read a chart. This is how you look at every single tree. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the North Node, Rahu, the South Node, Ketu, Uranus, and Neptune. All of these planets will be sitting in some house and some sign, okay? So I'm going to give you a quick example of Saturn. As you see here in Aries, Saturn is in the 4th house, right? But what sign is it under? Well, if it's an Aries ascendant, it's going to be in the sign of Cancer. Because from Aries, if you count counterclockwise 4 places, the 4th house has a sign Cancer. Now, as you saw, the ascendant changed. It changed to Taurus ascendant. So now Sun is in the sign of Leo. Now the ascendant changed. It's changed to Gemini. Now Saturn is in the sign of Virgo, but it's still in the 4th house. So Saturn in the 4th house, whenever you see that 6, it shows Saturn in the 4th house in the sign of Virgo. Now that you see Cancer ascendant came, now Saturn is in the 4th house in the sign of Libra. Now as you see 5 again, which is Leo ascendant, now Saturn is in the 4th house in the sign of Scorpio. And this is how you start reading the birth chart. So houses always stay fixed. Those boxes always are representing a certain house. They never change. What changes is just the zodiac sign every 2.5 hours. And with that, on that side, and sometimes the ascendant will be here, different places. It takes a while to really get used to that sequence. But with North Indian style, where is the ascendant? The very first house. Do counterclockwise, and all the 12 houses are there. Simple. So hopefully this gave you some education and some insight into how to read a basic chart. And this is pretty much how you read a basic North Indian style Vedic astrological chart, which just shows the first house, 12th house, and there you go. All right. So guys, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below, because that's what I do. I talk all the details of astrology.